You really think I married you for love? Damon's voice was sharp, cutting through the silence. Don't fool yourself, Ava. You're just a stepping stone. The words pierced the air, cold and harsh. I stood frozen, my hand still clutching the spatula I had been using to prepare breakfast. Damon's once warm, inviting gaze now glinted with cruel satisfaction. When I managed to speak, he laughed. His laugh, once charming, now sending a chill through me. Oh, come on. Are you really that naive? Did you honestly think someone like me would settle for someone like you without an agenda? I'm Ava, and this was the moment my fairy tale came crashing down. Slowly, I set the spatula down, my movements deliberate and controlled. Someone like you? I asked, my voice trembling. What does that even mean? Damon leaned casually against the counter, his sharp suit standing in stark contrast to my flour-dusted apron. Ambitious, destined for greatness. Your family's small construction business was just the first step up the ladder. The room felt like it was spinning. I clutched the edge of the stove, staring at the reality of what he was saying. Our marriage, it had all been a lie. Not all of it, he remarked, almost disinterested. The sex was good, and you made a pretty convincing trophy wife at company events. A wave of anger rose inside me, hot and sudden. Grabbing the nearest object, a ceramic mug, I threw it at him. He ducked and it crashed into the wall behind him. Get out, I shouted, my voice filled with fury. Get out of my house! Damon's eyes widened slightly, a flash of real surprise crossing his face. Your house? I think you're forgetting who's paying the bills around here, sweetheart. I stepped forward, my voice cold and menacing. My family's company built this house. My blood and sweat are in these walls. Now get out, or I'll show you exactly what a construction worker's daughter is capable of. He raised his hands in mock surrender, the infuriating smirk still playing at the corners of his mouth. All right, I'm leaving. But this isn't over, Ava. Remember that. The front door slammed shut, and I crumpled to the kitchen floor, my mind spinning. How had I been so blind? The whirlwind romance, the grand proposal, the dream wedding, it had all seemed perfect because it was too good to be true. I'm not sure how long I stayed there, surrounded by the broken pieces of ceramic and the remnants of my marriage. Eventually, I managed to pull myself up, and with trembling hands, reached for my phone. I dialed the one person I knew would always be there for me. Clara. My voice broke as I spoke. I need you. An hour later, I was sitting in my parents' warm living room, the mug of tea in my hands providing some comfort. Clara sat beside me, her arm around my shoulder. My father, Arthur, paced by the fireplace, his face clouded with anger and concern. I'll kill him, he muttered, his voice low and furious. I'll tear that bastard apart. Dad, please, I said tiredly, my voice soft but firm. Violence won't solve anything. Clara squeezed my shoulder. Your father's just upset, honey. We both are. To think that Damon could be so manipulative, deceitful. A complete and utter ass. Misguided, I supplied, despite everything. A small smile tugged at my mother's lips. I was going to say misguided, but your words work too. Arthur stopped pacing and sat down across from us. Ava, sweetheart, I know you're hurting, but we need to think practically. What did he mean about using our business? I shook my head. I don't know. He always acted like the company was beneath him, said it was just a quaint family business that would never amount to much. Clara and Arthur exchanged a look. Honey, my mother said gently, there's something we need to tell you about the company. For the next hour, my parents laid out the truth about Sterling Construction. It wasn't just a small family business. It was a rapidly growing enterprise with contracts all over the state. They had been protecting me, they said, wanting me to have a normal life without the pressure of a family legacy. But why didn't you tell me? I asked, feeling betrayed all over again. Arthur leaned forward, his eyes intense. We were going to, sweetheart. We had a whole plan to bring you into the fold gradually, but then you met Damon and everything happened so fast. We thought we had time. Clara added softly, "We never imagined he would use me as a pawn in a sick game." I finished bitterly. The room fell silent. I stared into my now cold tea, my mind racing. Damon had seen the potential in my family's company when I couldn't. He had played me, played all of us, for his own gain. Suddenly, I stood up, a new fire burning in my chest. "I want in," I declared. "I want to learn everything about the business." And then I paused, my voice hardening. Then I'm going to use every resource at my disposal to make Damon rue the day he ever thought he could use me as a stepping stone. My parents exchanged another look, this one filled with a mixture of pride and concern. "Ava," my father said slowly, "revenge isn't the answer. It won't heal your heart." I met his gaze, my jaw set. Maybe not, but it'll be a damn good start. I woke up the next morning on my parents' couch, my head pounding and eyes puffy from a night of tears and rage. The smell of coffee wafted from the kitchen, and I stumbled in to find my mother already dressed for work. "Morning, sweetheart," Clara said, sliding a mug across the counter. "How are you feeling?" "Like I've been hit by a truck," I mumbled, taking a grateful sip. "Is Dad at the office already?" She nodded. "He wanted to get an early start. We have a lot to catch you up on." The events of yesterday came flooding back, Damon's betrayal, the revelation about our family business. I set the mug down with a clatter. "Mom, I meant what I said last night. I want in. I need to know everything." Clara's gaze softened as she spoke gently. "I know, honey, and will tell you everything. But first, we need to focus on the more pressing issue." "Damon," I spat the name with disdain. "Exactly. Have you checked your phone?" she asked. I realized I'd turned it off since yesterday. Turning it back on, I was flooded with notifications, missed calls, texts, voicemails, all from Damon. "He's trying to backpedal," I muttered, scrolling through the messages. "Baby, I'm sorry. We need to talk. It wasn't what you think." "Typical." Clara's face tightened with disgust. "Don't fall for it, Ava. Men like that will say anything to keep you hooked." I deleted the messages without a second thought. I'm done with his lies. After finishing our coffee, we headed to the main office of Sterling Construction. I'd been here plenty of times before, but always as a visitor. Now, walking through the busy hallways, everything looked different. Dad was waiting in the conference room with a man I didn't recognize. "Ava, this is Julian Reed, our head of legal," Arthur said, introducing us. "He's here to help us navigate through this mess." I shook Julian's hand, noting his strong grip and the warmth in his eyes. "Nice to meet you, Ava," he said, his voice sincere. "I'm sorry it's under these circumstances." We all sat down, and for the next 2 hours, my parents and Julian walked me through the full scope of Sterling Construction. They explained our major projects, financial status, and the complex network of contracts and partnerships that formed the backbone of our business. "So," I said, my head spinning, "we're not just a small family business. We're a major industry player." Arthur nodded, his voice filled with pride. "We've worked hard to build this company, Ava, and we've always planned for you to take over someday. We just wanted to shield you from the pressure." I felt a flash of frustration. "I appreciate that, Dad, but I'm not a child. I could have handled it." "You're right," Clara said gently. "We should have trusted you more, but now our focus is on protecting you and the company from Damon." Julian cleared his throat, shifting his attention to me. "Ms. Sterling, I've reviewed your prenuptial agreement. The good news is it's ironclad. Damon has no claim on your personal assets or your shares in the company." I let out a breath I hadn't realized I'd been holding. Thank God for small mercies. "However," Julian continued, "there's the matter of your joint accounts and the house. We'll need to act quickly to secure those assets before Damon can access them." My father leaned forward, his voice firm. Ava, we can handle this for you. You don't have to— No, I interrupted, my resolve clear. I need to do this myself. I got myself into this, and I'm going to get myself out. Clara reached over and squeezed my hand. You're not alone, sweetheart. We'll be here for whatever you need. I squeezed back, grateful for their unwavering support. Thank you, all of you. Now, where do we start? Julian pulled out a folder. First things first, we need to freeze your joint accounts. Then we'll start the process of dividing assets. It won't be easy, Ava. Damon's likely to fight this every step of the way. Let him, I said, a steely resolve settling over me. He's been using me as a stepping stone. It's time he learned what happens when you mess with the Sterlings. We spent the rest of the day strategizing. By the time we finished, I had a clear plan of action. I would move back home temporarily, freeze our accounts, and file for divorce. It wasn't going to be pretty, but I was ready for the fight. As we were wrapping up, my phone buzzed, a text from Damon. We need to talk. I'm coming over tonight. I showed it to my parents. He doesn't know I'm not at the house, I said. Arthur's face darkened. I'll go over there and— No, Dad, I interrupted. I need to face him myself. It's time I stood up to him once and for all. Clara looked worried. Are you sure, honey? You don't have to do this alone. I stood up, feeling stronger than I had in months. I'm sure. Damon thinks he can manipulate me, use me for his own gain. It's time he learned just how wrong he is. As I left the office, I felt a mix of fear and determination. The old Ava might have crumbled in the face of Damon's charm and lies, but that Ava was gone. In her place stood a woman ready to reclaim her life, her dignity, and her future. Damon Thorne was about to learn that he'd made the biggest mistake of his life. I stood in the kitchen of my soon-to-be former home, my hands gripping the counter as I waited for Damon to arrive. The house felt different now, tainted by the knowledge of his betrayal. Every happy memory we'd shared here now seemed like a cruel joke. The doorbell rang, and I took a deep breath, steeling myself. I opened the door to find Damon standing there, his usual polished appearance slightly disheveled. For a moment, I saw a flicker of the man I thought I'd married. Ava, he said, his voice soft. Thank God. I've been trying to reach you. I stepped aside, letting him in without a word. He moved past me, his expensive cologne filling the air. Look, Ava, he started, running a hand through his hair. What I said yesterday, I didn't mean it. I was angry, frustrated. You know how I get when work is stressful. I crossed my arms, my voice steady. And what about Isla? Was she just stress relief too? His eyes widened for a fraction of a second before he composed himself. Isla? I don't know what you're talking about. Don't lie to me, Damon. Not anymore. Before Damon could respond, the doorbell rang again. A flicker of confusion crossed his face as I moved toward the door. When I opened it, I was met by Regina Thorne, her immaculate hair and designer outfit a sharp contrast to the tension filling the room. Mother? Damon's voice held clear surprise. What are you doing here? Regina glided into the house, her eyes quickly flicking between us. I came to check on you two. I've been so worried. I fought back a bitter laugh. It wasn't worry about us. It was about her son's plan unraveling. Ava, darling, Regina said, her voice oozing with false concern. Damon told me about your little disagreement. I'm sure it's all just a misunderstanding. I met her gaze, not backing down. There's no misunderstanding, Regina. Your son made his intentions clear enough. Her eyes narrowed slightly. Now, let's not be hasty. Every marriage has its ups and downs. If you just tried a little harder— That's enough, Mother, Damon interjected, visibly uncomfortable. I could feel the anger boiling inside me. Tried harder? I gave everything to this marriage. I supported Damon's career, played the perfect wife at his work events, put my own dreams aside. And for what? To be used as a stepping stone? For a moment, Regina's carefully crafted mask of concern slipped, revealing a flash of contempt. Well, dear, you can hardly blame Damon for wanting more. After all, you're not exactly from our circle. The room went still. Damon looked mortified, but I noticed he didn't jump to my defense. I took a deep breath, drawing on the strength I'd found over the past 2 days. You're right, Regina. I'm not from your circle. I come from a family that values hard work, honesty, and loyalty, things that seem to be in short supply in the Thorne household. Regina gasped, her face turning red with outrage. How dare you? No, I cut her off sharply. How dare you walk into my home and try to manipulate me? I see right through both of you now. Damon married me for my family's company, and you went along with it because you thought you could control me. Damon stepped forward, all charm and pleading. Ava, baby, that's not true. I love you. We can work this out. I laughed, the sound sharp and bitter, even to my own ears. Save it, Damon. I'm done with your lies. I've already frozen our joint accounts and contacted a lawyer. This marriage is over. The color drained from Damon's face. You what? You can't do that. I can and I have, I said, my voice steady. You underestimated me, Damon. You thought I was just some naive girl you could use and discard. But I'm a Sterling, and we don't break that easily. Regina's face contorted with rage. You ungrateful little... I think it's time for you both to leave, I interrupted, moving towards the door. Damon grabbed my arm. Ava, please, we can talk about this. I wrenched my arm free. There's nothing left to say. Get out of my house, both of you. For a moment, I thought Damon might argue further, but something in my expression must have convinced him of my resolve. He nodded stiffly and turned to his mother. Come on, Mother. We're leaving. Regina looked like she wanted to say more, but Damon practically dragged her out the door. As they reached the porch, Regina turned back, her eyes cold. This isn't over, Ava. You have no idea who you're dealing with. I met her gaze unflinchingly. Neither do you, Regina. Neither do you. I closed the door and leaned against it, my heart pounding. The house felt emptier now, but also lighter, as if a great weight had been lifted. I pulled out my phone and dialed my mother's number. Mom, it's done. They're gone. Clara's voice was warm and supportive. I'm proud of you, sweetheart. Are you okay? I took a deep breath, surveying the house that had once been my dream home. I will be. I think it's time for a fresh start. As I hung up, I felt a sense of possibility wash over me. Damon and his family had tried to break me, to mold me into their perfect, compliant wife, but they had failed. I was stronger than they knew, and I was ready to reclaim my life on my own terms. The war might not be over, but I had won this battle, and I was just getting started. The next morning, I woke with a sense of purpose I hadn't felt in months. The confrontation with Damon and Regina had ignited a fire in me, and I was determined to see this through. I dressed quickly and headed to Sterling Construction, ready to dive into my new role and start gathering the evidence I needed. As I walked into the office, Clara met me with a concerned smile. How are you holding up, sweetheart? I'm okay, Mom, I assured her. Actually, I'm better than okay. I'm ready to fight back. She squeezed my arm. That's my girl. Come on, there's something I need to show you. We headed to her office, where she pulled out a thick file. I've been doing some digging, she said, her voice low. Damon's been up to more than just having an affair. I leaned forward, my heart racing. What do you mean? Clara spread out several documents on her desk. Look at these. Financial reports, bank statements, emails. Damon's been siphoning money from your joint accounts for months. I scanned the papers, my blood boiling as I saw the evidence in black and white. Thousands of dollars transferred to an account I didn't recognize. Is this for Isla? I asked, my voice tight. Clara shook her head. I don't think so. Look at the account name. I squinted at the fine print. Thorne Enterprises? I've never heard of it. That's because it doesn't exist, Clara said, her tone heavy with grim realization. At least not officially. It's a shell company, Ava. Damon's been funneling money through it, probably to hide it from you during the divorce. The revelation hit me like a gut punch. Not only had Damon betrayed me emotionally, but he'd also been plotting to leave me financially ruined. That bastard, I whispered, my hands trembling with anger. Clara placed a comforting hand on my shoulder. I know it's tough, honey, but we can use this. With this evidence, we can destroy him in the divorce proceedings. I nodded, my thoughts racing. We need more, though. If he's been hiding money through our personal accounts, what's he been doing with the company? For the next few hours, Clara and I dug through financial records, cross-referencing dates and transactions. The work was tedious, but with each discovery, my determination grew. By mid-afternoon, we'd uncovered a troubling pattern. Damon had been manipulating contracts, inflating costs, and skimming off the top. He'd been careful, taking just enough to avoid suspicion, but over time it had added up to a significant amount. He's been stealing from the company, I said, my voice hollow. From my family. Clara's face hardened with controlled fury. We've got him, Ava, but we need to be smart about how we use this information. Just then, there was a knock at the door. Arthur poked his head in, his expression tense. Ava, there's someone here to see you. I exchanged a concerned glance with Clara before following my father out. To my surprise, standing in the reception area was Isla Hayes. She looked as poised and beautiful as ever, but there was an unfamiliar vulnerability in her eyes. Ava, she said, her voice quivering slightly. I think we need to talk. I led her into a private conference room, my mind spinning. What could Damon's mistress possibly want with me? Once seated, Isla took a deep breath. I'm so sorry, she blurted out. I didn't know, I swear. I had no idea you and Damon were still together. Despite everything, I felt a flicker of pity for her. He lied to you too, didn't he? She nodded, tears welling in her eyes. He told me you two had separated months ago, that he was just waiting for the right time to file for divorce. I believed him. God, I was so stupid. I handed her a tissue, my emotions a confusing blend of anger and sympathy. You're not stupid, Isla. Damon's very good at what he does. Isla wiped her eyes and took a deep breath before reaching into her purse. I found something. After you sent those documents to my place, I started looking closer at some things Damon had left at my apartment. She pulled out a USB drive. There are emails on here, plans. He was going to use me to get to my father's company, just like he used you for Sterling Construction. I took the drive, my hand shaking slightly. Thank you, Isla. This could change everything. As Isla left, I felt a strange sense of camaraderie with her. We'd both been pawns in Damon's game, but now we were taking back control. I rushed back to Clara's office, brandishing the USB drive. Mom, we've got more evidence. It's time to take this to the next level. Clara's eyes gleamed with determination. What do you have in mind? I smiled, a plan already forming. I think it's time we set a trap for Damon, and I know just how to do it. As we began to strategize, I felt a surge of confidence. Damon had underestimated me, thinking I was just a naive, compliant wife. He was about to learn just how wrong he was. The game was changing, and this time, I was going to be the one calling the shots. The next week passed in a blur of meticulous planning and carefully orchestrated deception. By day, I threw myself into work at Sterling Construction, learning the ins and outs of the business I'd ignored for too long. By night, I plotted Damon's downfall with a determination that surprised even me. Are you sure about this, Ava? My father asked one evening as we pored over the final details of our plan. There's no going back once we set this in motion. I met his gaze, my resolve unwavering. I'm sure, Dad. Damon needs to pay for what he's done, to me, to our family, to the company. Clara squeezed my hand. We're with you, sweetheart, every step of the way. As the day of Damon's business trip approached, I felt a strange mix of anticipation and dread. I had to play my part perfectly, maintain the facade of the loving, unsuspecting wife, right up until the moment I pulled the rug out from under him. The morning of his departure, I woke early to make Damon's favorite breakfast. As I stood at the stove flipping pancakes, I felt his arms snake around my waist. Something smells good," he murmured, nuzzling my neck. I forced a smile, turning to face him. "I wanted to send you off right. Big presentation today, isn't it?" Damon nodded, his eyes gleaming with an excitement that I now recognized as greed. "Could be a game changer for the company. For us." If only he knew how right he was. We ate breakfast in companionable silence, Damon occasionally checking his phone and muttering about last-minute details. I watched him, marveling at how easily the lies fell from his lips. As he prepared to leave, I handed him his briefcase. "I packed you a little surprise," I said, gesturing to the front pocket. "Don't open it until you're on the plane." Damon's face softened, and for a moment I saw a flicker of the man I'd fallen in love with. "You're too good to me, Ava." I swallowed hard, pushing down the lump in my throat. "Have a safe flight. I love you." He kissed me goodbye, and as the door closed behind him, I let out a shaky breath. This surprise I'd packed was a USB drive containing all the evidence of his embezzlement and infidelity. By the time he landed, his world would be crumbling around him. I waited until I was certain Damon had left before taking action. I dialed Clara, my voice calm and composed. "It's done. He's gone. Time for phase 2. Within the hour, a team from Sterling Construction arrived at the house, pretending to carry out some routine maintenance work I had supposedly scheduled weeks ago. They began documenting every corner of the property, meticulously cataloging our possessions. As I watched them work, a strange detachment washed over me. This house, once the symbol of my dreams, now felt like nothing more than a carefully constructed facade for Damon's lies. Around midday, my phone buzzed with a text from Damon. "Just boarded. Thanks for the surprise, babe. You always know how to make me smile." I stared at the message, my fingers hovering over the keyboard. Part of me wanted to warn him, to give him one last chance to come clean, but then I thought of all the lies, all the betrayal, and my resolve grew firmer. "Glad you like it," I replied. "Have a great trip. Can't wait to hear all about it when you get back." As I hit send, a weight lifted from my shoulders. There was no turning back now. The rest of the day was a whirlwind of activity. I met with our lawyer, finalizing the divorce papers and ensuring everything was in order for the legal battle I knew would follow. I moved the last of my personal belongings to my parents' house, leaving behind just enough to maintain the illusion that nothing had changed. As evening fell, I stood in the empty living room, memories rushing back. Our first night here, the parties we'd thrown, the quiet evenings spent on the couch. All of it now tainted by the truth of Damon's nature. My phone buzzed again, this time a message from Clara. "It's done. Everything's in place. Are you ready for tomorrow?" I took a deep breath, glancing around the room one final time. "I'm ready," I typed back. Tomorrow, Damon would return to find his life in ruins. The house he'd used to impress colleagues and mistresses would be gone. His reputation, both personal and professional, would be shattered. And I would be waiting, ready to show him just who he'd underestimated. As I locked the front door for the last time, I felt a surge of anticipation. The calm before the storm had passed. Tomorrow the real battle would begin, and I was prepared for war. The next morning dawned crisp and clear, a stark contrast to the turmoil raging within me. I stood at the edge of our property, watching as the Sterling construction crew arrived. The rumble of heavy machinery filled the air as a convoy of trucks followed close behind. This was it, the point of no return. "Are you absolutely certain about this, Ava?" my father asked, his voice laced with concern. I nodded, my gaze fixed on the house. I've never been more sure of anything in my life, Dad. Taking a deep breath, I gave the signal. The foreman nodded, and the sound of roaring engines filled the air as the crew set to work. I watched, heart pounding, as the first excavators clawed into the side of the house. The crack of splintering wood and shattering glass was like music to my ears. As the demolition progressed, I felt a strange mix of emotions wash over me. Grief for the life I thought I'd had, anger at Damon's betrayal, and an overwhelming sense of liberation. With each wall that fell, I felt the weight of lies and manipulation crumbling away. My phone buzzed in my pocket, a text from Clara. "It's done. The evidence has been delivered to the authorities. There's no going back now." I typed back a quick reply. "Good. Let it all burn." By midday, our dream home, the stage for Damon's elaborate deceptions, was nothing more than a pile of rubble. I walked through the debris, picking up fragments of our life together, a shard of the vase we bought on our honeymoon, a twisted picture frame that once held a photo of us smiling on the beach. All of it meaningless now. As the crew began clearing the site, my phone rang. Damon's name flashed on the screen. I took a deep breath, steeling myself, and answered. "Ava." His voice was frantic. "What the hell is going on? I just got a call from the police. They're saying something about embezzlement and fraud, and why isn't Isla answering her phone?" I let out a cold laugh. "Oh, Damon, you really should have been more careful with your secrets." "What are you talking about?" he sputtered. "Where are you? I'm coming home right now." "Home?" I said, my voice dripping with sarcasm. "I'm afraid you'll find that a bit difficult. You see, our house seems to have had a little accident." There was a long pause on the other end of the line. When Damon spoke again, his voice was low and dangerous. "What have you done, Ava?" I walked to the edge of the property, looking out over the empty lot where our house once stood. "I've done exactly what you taught me to do, darling. I've taken control. I've seized an opportunity. I've used every resource at my disposal to get what I want." "You stupid," he hissed. "You have no idea what you've done. When you get back, you'll find divorce papers waiting for you," I interrupted, "along with a team of lawyers ready to bury you in litigation. Oh, and I wouldn't count on Isla for support. She's had quite the revelation about your true nature." I could hear Damon's ragged breathing on the other end of the line. "This isn't over, Ava. You think you've won, but you have no idea who you're dealing with." "No, Damon," I said, my voice steady and cold. "You're the one who had no idea who he was dealing with. I'm not just some stepping stone. I'm Ava Sterling, and I'm the woman who's going to bring your whole world crashing down." I ended the call, a sense of grim satisfaction settling over me. I knew this was just the beginning. Damon would go down without a fight, and his parents, Regina especially, would no doubt rally to his defense. But for the first time in years, I felt truly in control of my own destiny. As the sun began to set, casting long shadows over the empty lot, I felt a presence beside me. Clara put her arm around my shoulders, and we stood in silence, watching the last of the debris being cleared away. "What now?" she asked softly. I turned to her, a small smile playing on my lips. "Now we prepare for war. Damon and the Thorns are going to throw everything they have at us. We need to be ready." Clara nodded, her eyes gleaming with determination. "We will be. The whole family is behind you, Ava. We'll face this together." As we walked away from the ruins of my old life, I felt a surge of strength and purpose. Damon had underestimated me, seen me as nothing more than a pawn in his game. But he was about to learn that sometimes the pawn becomes the queen, and in this game, I was playing to win. The aftermath of the demolition was a whirlwind. I barely had time to catch my breath before the next phase of my plan was set into motion. With Damon's belongings salvaged from the rubble, I set about delivering them to Isla's doorstep, along with a carefully crafted package of evidence detailing his deceit. My hands trembled as I sealed the final envelope. Inside, I included a letter to Isla explaining everything: Damon's manipulation, his financial fraud, and his plans to exploit her family's connections for his own gain. I wrestled with whether to mention the details of our own failing marriage, but ultimately, I felt that the truth was the kindest thing I could offer her. As I watched the courier drive off with the package, a mix of anticipation and dread gripped me. There was no turning back now. The next 24 hours blurred into a haze of legal meetings and damage control at Sterling Construction. We had known there would be fallout from exposing Damon's embezzlement, but the reality was more chaotic than we had imagined. Clients were calling, demanding answers. The press was circling, sensing a juicy scandal. Through it all, I kept my phone close, waiting for the inevitable. When it finally came, it wasn't a call from Damon or his lawyers. It was Isla. "Is it true?" Her voice trembled, raw with emotion. "All of it." I closed my eyes, steeling myself. "Yes, Isla. I'm so sorry." There was a long pause, broken only by her shaky breaths. When she spoke again, her voice was firmer, tinged with anger. "He's here now, you know. Showed up at my door an hour ago, full of excuses and promises. I didn't let him in." A wave of relief washed over me. "Good, Isla. I know this is a lot to process, but thank you." She interrupted. "For telling me the truth. For not letting him do to me what he did to you." The call ended shortly after, leaving me with a bittersweet sense of closure. Another piece of Damon's carefully constructed facade had crumbled, but I knew the real storm was still on its way. It hit with the force of a hurricane the next morning. I was in a meeting with our legal team when my father burst into the room, his face ashen. "Ava, you need to see this." He handed me his tablet, open to a local news site. The headline sent a chill through me. "Sterling Construction embroiled in bitter divorce battle. Accusations of fraud and destruction of property." The article was a masterpiece of spin, painting Damon as the victim of a vengeful wife and a corrupt family business. It insinuated that the demolition of our house was an attempt to destroy evidence of even larger financial crimes. "Regina," I muttered, recognizing the manipulative hand of my mother-in-law in every carefully worded sentence. As if summoned by her name, my phone lit up with an incoming call. Regina Thorne's number flashed on the screen. I answered, my voice cold. "Hello, Regina." "Ava, darling." Her tone was dripping with false sweetness. "I just saw the most distressing news. Are you all right? This must be such a difficult time for you." I gritted my teeth, seeing right through her act. "Cut the crap, Regina. We both know you're behind this hit piece." She let out a brittle laugh. "Oh, Ava, always so quick to accuse. I'm merely looking out for my son's interests. Surely you can understand that." "What I understand," I said, my voice low and dangerous, "is that you and Damon have grossly underestimated me. This little media stunt? It's just the beginning of your problems." There was a pause, and when Regina spoke again, the fake sweetness was gone from her voice.